that either maybe weren't as impactful for me in the moment, but then I got to listen to again and see how it actually has changed over the course of 9 days for me.
Cool.
Really listening to Gene was really helpful too, talking about his speaking and how he was sharing some of the learnings and lessons that he's had in his own career and his own life. And I love the relationship building that we got to do, not just in that time yesterday, but over the course of these past months.
Cool.
I was talking to Lauren this morning. Chelsea, I know you messaged me and I guess message you back today. And I'm going to reach out to Gene. The relationships that we've built through this time, to me, feel like one of the greatest gifts that I've gotten from this. I mean, it's all the valuable information and transformation is amazing, but for me, building, peer relationships in this field has been invaluable to me.
Cool. Awesome. I've mentioned this before, but I'll say it again. I really had no idea what to kind of expect coming into this thing. I literally just wanted to give away a phone and that was that. So I'm really blown away by all of you guys. And I think you all saw the post that I kind of have come to the conclusion that it feels a little silly for this thing to end. And so I'm going to create an opportunity for it not to end. And I'm honestly not exactly sure what that's going to look like, but it'll be something very similar to what it has been. I think if it's not broke, then we shouldn't fix it. However, it may include, I would love to get us all together in person. If what you're saying is true, Deanna, then I think the in-person value that would come from getting us all together would be really, would be great. And if we've been able to create such great relationships and have such amazing breakthroughs in 90 days, then if we continue on, I can only imagine what's going to happen from there. So that feels really exciting too. So I'm glad you all kind of are behind that idea, and so we will take it from there. I think that I saved a topic for today. Maybe someone can remind me what we were going to talk about. I'm just a little out of it. The memorial service for my mom yesterday was really beautiful, and I'm still not maybe 100% there. So hopefully you guys can kind of bear with me a little bit. But I do feel like we had a topic that felt really important to us that we wanted to cover.
Hey, Shannon.
Yes.
This is Tammy.
Hi, Tammy.
Hi. Before we go there, how about if we just take a deep breath and just surround you with a lot of love and connect with our hearts. With each other, with you. And just allow that and just to be. That possibly there is no specific topic that requires to be today to be discussed. But maybe it's just about the energy of being with each other, with you, sending you this love, this connection of a higher source. I really feel that's coming through right now. I really feel like your mom is with you and with us in this group right now, in this gathering of hearts. And to let you know it's okay. that you don't have to be on point right now. It's okay, Shannon. And just breathe and be.
Thanks, Tammy.
My pleasure.
Yeah, thank you very much. I do want to kind of just sit with how awesome this group has been for just a minute. I felt like I had a little FOMO yesterday when I was like, oh man, they're all like celebrating some awesomeness. And I've been posting about it. But I really want to feel it here with you guys. I can't express like how just surprised I am. I had just an image of like, yeah, this could be something really awesome, and it's just surpassed what I thought that it could be. And it's because of you guys. I'm not going to discredit myself, but certainly you guys have shown up and put in the work and been uncomfortable and expanded. And so, yeah, it just means a lot to me. And I think that to just enjoy it and not race past it. I want to thank Tammy for kind of helping me pause a little bit. I feel a little frantic today just because yesterday was as beautiful as it was. It wasn't easy, and to kind of just pause and I felt a little pressure coming into today's call, feeling like I did have to be super on point, and just to be with you here feels like enough. And that doesn't mean that we can't maybe discuss some things and bring some things to the table. But I think Tammy's right to race past it and just move on to the next thing. I think would be a disservice to me and to you guys. So I just want to sit for just a second with how brilliant all of you are and how proud. I feel proud of each of you and collectively of this group. So I want to just be with that for a minute and just be in the appreciation of it, because it does mean a lot to me. And I do have a habit historically of kind of racing past things, and I want to be able to not just enjoy them, but to really let them enrich me and allow us to be enriched by them. So let's just do that just for a minute, just be with it and the richness of it, and how it's powerful and what it's done, and just sit with it. Thanks, guys. I have so much appreciation for all of you, really. Okay, so the good news is this gets to continue. And the reality is this year is ending. And so I'd like to at least look at a couple things on the call today that could be helpful to you as far as making next year really powerful. I have the good fortune of being able to work with some of you in person in January. for those of you that are going to come to my event. And unfortunately, not all of you are going to be able to make it. And so for those of you who will be able to make it, we're going to be going into this idea really in detail. But for those of you who aren't, I want to at least equip you with some ideas and some things that could really be powerful for you. So first of all, I think people are, I think everyone wants to think about what they can get next year. I think that's a typical thing that most people do with the New Year's. What can I get next year? Most people want to get more money. Most people want to get more experiences. They want to get more of something, which I think is great. There's nothing wrong with that. I actually love that. The challenge is 2 items can only occupy the same space at the same time. And so for you to get something, typically it means, in my experience, that it's best to leave something behind. So as we come into the new year, maybe there are some things that get to be left behind. It's easy to think about what you want. It's easy to think about who you want to become. It's easy to think about those things because they're natural. Expansion, I believe, is just our natural state. But leaving things behind is something that we forget about sometimes. And how many of you have ever had a New Year's resolution before? Raise your hand. Who's had a New Year's resolution before? All of us. How many have had New Year's resolutions that didn't work out? Raise your hand. Yeah. There's a simple reason for that. The reason is because we want something to change, something outside of us to change. Typically in January, gym memberships go through the roof. And then 90 days later, they go back to about the same place that they were. And the reason is because we want something outside of us to change, but typically what doesn't change, what stays the same, is us. And the interesting thing about that is that the outside, anything that's on the outside is purely a reflection of what's on the inside. And I think what's cool about this group is you guys get that. The thing that's maybe not so intuitive is it is important to leave something behind. So my question to you today, and I see the chat there to talk about languages as well, and that's important, so I'll touch on that. But my question for you is, what do you get to leave behind? What do you get to leave behind that will free you up to be, do, have, and give what you want next year? What do you get to leave behind? It could be an identity. It could be a story. It could be a belief. Chelsea says smallness. I like that. It could be a person or a group of people. Not believing in myself. Thanks, Marion. Yeah, I love these shares, guys. Keep sharing if you want to. Lack of self-confidence. Great. Let's leave that behind, huh? Charlotte's so awesome. Yeah. Over responsibility for my family. There you go. Marion says the couch potato. I like that. That's great. That's great. You see, the challenge is people, we all want things, and that's awesome. But if we don't change what we're holding on to, if we don't let go of the things that we're holding on to that prevent the things that we want to happen in the first place, then we'll never have them. Have you guys ever experienced someone, have you heard the story of people who work out like crazy, but their body really doesn't change all that much? Have you ever heard or seen that before? Totally. It's kind of sad. And part of the reason is because nothing changes in here. They haven't let go of some stories or some ideas or some beliefs or some identity or something. They haven't let go of something. The simple one is, I know people who work out like crazy, but they eat like crazy. So that kind of like messes you up a little bit. So letting go, this is something that our culture is like so challenged with, to just be able to let go, especially let go of things that don't serve you anymore. And so I love this list that we're getting here. Overextending myself, spreading too thin on various projects. Lauren, that's a great one. Thank you. Yeah, anybody else want to share something that they want to let go of? Doing everything myself. How many of you would benefit from not doing everything yourself? Raise your hand. Great. Good one. Not allowing to be selfish, Marion says. Great. At the event, we're going to get really selfish, so you can look forward to that. Needing to be perfect. Great one, Bridget. That's awesome. Cool. So I want you to think about, we're going to just visualize briefly. I want you to look at what you wrote down. And if you wrote down multiple things, then that's great. But I want you to look at what you wrote down, or think about what you wrote down. Look at it, then think about it. And then think about the next 12 months living and being and expanding and growing without those things. And really give yourself permission to sink into that. Give yourself permission to kind of play with this. To get into the playfulness of, man, what would it be like to not have this thing anymore? To not have this belief or this story or this burden. What would be different? And then just let yourself experience how that would feel. How would you feel? How would you feel without that? What would happen, right? Because I'm sure the results in your life would be different. So what would happen that's different? But more importantly, how would it feel? How would you feel? And before we race off to the next thing, we're just going to pause with how it feels. How does it feel? And if you want to share how it feels, just type it in the box. If you want to share, then just type it in the box. Unstoppable. Wow. I like that. Expansive, vast, bright, vibrant. Thanks, Chelsea. Powerful, freeing. Great. Magical, powerful, free. Great. Clear, clarity, space. Awesome. Thanks, Lauren. Deanna. Yeah. Are you guys seeing some commonalities? Totally. We're seeing some, we're seeing some things in common. Let me try something here just for a second, guys. Aha, light. Great. Tammy says expanded, decisive, clear direction, all-knowing. Great. Awesome. This is good. So here's what I want. We're going to create a little bit of a challenge for you guys, a little bit of homework, if you will. Because I truly believe that how you start is how you finish. how you start is how you finish. Or if you want the cool way to say it, the genesis of a thing is what maintains a thing. So if a year starts off with momentum, then that's a good thing, in my opinion. I think a lot of people go into a year with good intentions, but intentions alone aren't enough. How many of you have read the Love Languages book, or at least have heard about it? Raise your hand. Fascinating, isn't it? It's fascinating because you can have the intention to love someone, but if you're not speaking their language, it kind of doesn't make much of a difference, right? And so intention is great, but New Year's resolutions are kind of like intentions. They're like, I have the desire to make this thing happen, but unless you get to the granular level of what it's actually going to take to do it, then very often we get to the end of the year and we hope that 2019's resolutions like somehow magically happen, and they don't. And so, yeah. So the homework for you guys is to be starting right now. I want you to live in the possibility of what it would be like to live without these things that you mentioned here today. Because all of you are going to do something tomorrow to ring in the new year. Some of you will party and some of you will just have a quiet moment at home. And either way, if you can at least be in the energy of how it's going to feel. And listen, here's the good news. Today's not the end of our experience together. So some of you might be thinking, yeah, but Shannon, like, I can't just not do those things. Like, how do I just not do that? Well, don't worry about it. Just don't do it for a couple days. You know, we'll figure it out later. We'll figure that part out later. Just don't do it for tomorrow and the rest of today. Does that sound fair enough? Can you guys get on board with that with me? Okay, cool. I like making people do thumbs up because that's kind of like so old school. Just do it. Just don't think about how to not do it. Just don't do it. That's all. Just make it simple for yourself, at least for a day and a half. And then it can get weird and complicated later and we'll figure it out. Okay? So, but the reason is this. The reason is, if at the end of next year, you're going to feel all of these awesome words: expanded, unstoppable, vast, bright, magical, powerful, free, clear, decisive. If you're going to feel all of those things at the end of next year, then when's the best time to start to feel them? Yeah, right now. Totally. 100%. 100%. Confidence is such a funny thing. There's two types of confidence. I'd write this down if I were you. There's two types of confidence. There's the type of confidence that comes from experience, and there's the type of confidence that comes from knowing. How many of you have ever done something that you had never done before, but you did it because you knew you could? Raise your hand. How many of you have ever done something that you had never done before, but you did it because you knew that you could? All of you. All of you. So just pause on that for a second. What does that mean? Because most people think that confidence comes from experience, and they're not wrong, but they're only half right. They're not wrong, but they're only half right. Because experience is only half of the equation. Confidence can come from just knowing. Well, what does knowing come from? This is a conversation. My brother is such a deep guy. I love having conversations with him. And him and I got on this riff recently about what is it to really know something? How do you know when you know something? Well, you feel it, don't you? How do you know when you're confident? It comes with a certain feeling, doesn't it? How do you know when you're prepared? Comes with a certain feeling, doesn't it? How do you know when you're in love? Bridget. Comes with a certain feeling, doesn't it? Totally. So the way that we know things is to feel things. And so it's I think fair to say that if you feel something, then you are something, right? If I feel confident, then I am confident. If I feel like I'm in love, I probably am in love. If I feel certain, most likely I am certain. So if what you want to be is expanded and clear and bright and powerful and free and all of these things, then to feel them is to know them. And to know them is to feel them, and then to feel them is to be them. If you are feeling it, then you are it. Does that make sense? If you are feeling it, then you are it. And so if what you are wanting to be at the end of the year is all of these things, then the best time to be that, to feel that, is now. Now, of course, by the end of the year, you might have more experience with those things. But again, that's only half the equation. You don't need experience. How many of you need experience to feel bright right now? Raise your hand. How many of you need experience to feel bright? Raise your hand. No? Nobody? That's the point. That's the point. What about powerful or free or clear, right? We were able to just do a very simple visualization where where all you did was just visualize what it was like not to have the stuff that's in the way. And all of a sudden, what flooded in was how you wanted to feel. Was it difficult to feel those like expansive, awesome feelings? No, they just kind of happened, didn't they? They just kind of like arrived. Isn't that true? Totally. I like seeing the little like, yeah, that's true. He's right. But it's brilliant. It's brilliant. So I want you guys to just, for a day and a half, that's it, to just be with these feelings. Deanna says, my friend is a Navy SEAL, and he says I can't read the thing. He simply believes he can do anything, fails all the time, but it doesn't change his mindset. Yeah, totally. Right? Little kids are another great example. Little kids will stop at nothing to try stuff. They just do it all the time. And so, so that's your homework. You have a day and a half to just be in it, to just be in the feeling of it and have fun with it, and allow that to bring momentum into the new year, to allow that to start the new chapter of the year. Because most people start the new year as kind of hopeful, right? They're like, I hope that this year is the year that it all turns around. Well, hope is kind of like despair in disguise, I think, in a lot of ways, right? It's not, there's not a lot of confidence to it. There's not a lot of certainty to it. I hope that next year will be better than this year. It's a little shaky. But if you go into it already feeling all of the feelings that you want, then it just creates so much more power, so much more certainty. And so that's that. Now, let's briefly talk about language, because it's important. Going into next year, I would love to see all of you have a massive language upgrade. And as we continue this, I will do trainings like even more in depth on language and things like that. But what you need to know is language matters, for the simple reason that the words that you use have a pretty profound effect overall. There's layers on the words that you use. So first of all, the words that you use directly indicate what type of beliefs that you have. So for example, people who say have to a lot. I have to do this and I have to do that. That typically have to is what's considered victim language. So you really, in my experience, you have two categories that your language falls into. Victim language and what I would call victor language or hero language. One of them is kind of like you have no choice and your power is taken away, and the other is you have the power. Chelsea hit it right on the head. The opposite of have to is get to. I get to do this. I get to do that. I have to go to the gym. I get to go to the gym. Very different. So my encouragement to you would be two things. If you're aware, because many of you are highly self-aware, if you are aware of words or phrases that you use that are not congruent with who you want to be moving forward, I also encourage you to let go of those. In the spirit of what are we leaving behind, maybe there are some words or some phrases that you get to leave behind. Yeah. So I'll just give you an example from myself. For me, I said pretty a lot. Like pretty good. I'd go to Disneyland and have an amazing experience, and people would say, "Shannon, how was it?" And I'd say, "Yeah, it was pretty good." When the reality is, it wasn't pretty good. It was amazing. It was awesome. It was fantastic. It was sensational. For me, what it was is that I was not willing to give myself an experience that was any better than this. And so sensational's like out here, and pretty good is in here. So even if I had a sensational time, I wouldn't allow that to be my reality, so I would make it smaller than what it was. And so hearing myself use that language of, yeah, it was pretty good, eventually I started to say, that's not accurate. That's not true. And I believe that in life, really our life is just made up of a handful of moments. Like in the end, we're not going to remember everything. We're just going to remember these very few moments that are so rich to us, that mean the most. And if we have a habit of downplaying those moments, then at the end, there's really not going to be much that we can be excited about. And so by choosing that language, for me to commit to using language that is as accurate as possible for the situation. So if something's amazing, then I'll say it's amazing. If it's beautiful, then I'll say it's beautiful. If it's, I would also have a habit of sometimes like not making things that were really bad so bad. If it was terrible, I'd say, yeah, it wasn't so great, when in reality it was really terrible. So just being more honest with that language. So the question you might ask yourself initially is can I bring more honesty to my language? Yeah, can I bring more honesty to my language? Just think about that. Lauren said, there's an old man at my gym who always asks how I am. And a few months ago, I said, no, not just great or good. What about marvelous or wonderful?
He say, oh, I'm good, I'm great, or whatever. And I'm always happy and like outgoing at the gym and, approachable. And he's like, he has an accent. He's so cute. And he's like, no, come on. Like, what are other ways to say that? Not just good or great. Like, what else can we say? Like marvelous, spectacular. And so now we have that little thing, if you're having a good day, don't just say good. Like, is it just good, or like, what else is it? And right. So.
Yeah. 100%. It's beautiful. And so for me, there was this commitment to honesty. That's really all it was, because if I was really honest, it wasn't good or it wasn't pretty good. It was marvelous, or it was fantastic, or it was shitty, or it was just whatever it was. Yeah. So is there more honesty that you can bring to your language, and where are you not so honest in your language? Are there specific areas? Some people have areas where they're less honest, like in their relationships or with themselves or at work, things like that. So just that alone of looking at where can I bring more honesty to my language makes a huge difference. Yeah. And Charlotte says, we remember anything that's emotionally charged. 100%, Charlotte. So especially if your day is like really marvelous, then you'll want to remember that. You'll want that to be a part of something that you carry moving forward, rather than downplaying it to say it was pretty good and just leaving it behind. Deanna says, I see how my victim language of making things work means missing out on the fun stuff. Yeah, totally. Tell us more about that, Deanna. I'm curious about that.
Like whenever somebody suggests doing something and I'm like, oh, like driving to Burbank, I'm like, oh God, that sounds like a lot of work, or it sounds like a lot of time.
Yeah,
yeah, sorry, sweetie. You're worth it, Lauren. You're worth the drive to Burbank. But like, I'll always be like, oh, that sounds like a lot of work, or that's going to take a lot of time, or that's going to be a lot of effort. And those things are usually generally really fun things, or things that would benefit my business or benefit my life in some way. But because I'm in the victim mindset of like, oh, it's going to be effort. Penn State just scored, yay. Then I have that mindset already so set in place that I'm not even letting myself see the opportunity for joy or fun. And I wrote up above like, oh, I feel like all I do is work. Well, maybe because my mindset is always looking at how it's just work, and I don't have enough fun because of my mindset. So I'm totally seeing how the relationship can create a new opportunity for fun for 2018 for me.
Totally. 100%. The reason that extraordinary people do extraordinary things is because it's fun for them. And they make no mistake, extraordinary people come up against extraordinary challenges. The difference is they play with it. So even though it's a big challenge, there's playfulness to it, and playfulness brings lightness. If something's heavy, you can only take something that's heavy for so long. How many of you have ever seen a movie called It's a Beautiful Life? That's a pretty moving film. It's about a family that goes to a Nazi concentration camp, and the father is like, oh man, this is bad. So he makes up this story that the whole thing is a game, that it's all just made up, and that his son is part of it, and that he has a part to play in this whole thing. So no matter what he hears, no matter what he sees, it's all just a game, and you got to follow these certain rules to win the game. And it makes the kids' experience of this like very dark, tragic experience like a light and playful one. And so it's amazing to see that. And it's amazing to see what can happen to a person's experience of life just depending on how they're willing to see it. And so, it's amazing because we can be so bogged down by just the simplest of things. It's great to look at the spectrum, right? To see like, wow, someone who can be in a concentration camp can make that experience beautiful. And someone who can get invited to Burbank to do something that's most likely powerful and positive can see it as like, oh God, it's such work, right? Painful. So it's amazing what this thing can do. And the good news is you're in control. So to kind of consciously detach from that, it's going to be work, I'm a victim, like someone's doing something to me, rather than no, I'm at choice 100% of the time, and this sounds like an awesome thing. Not only do I bet that I'm going to get a lot out of it, but I can probably bring something to it. I get to drive to Burbank.
I just realized when you were saying that, I just had an aha moment. I feel like I've never seen myself as fun. I've always seen things as fun. So it's been a very external, like if that's going to be fun or not going to be fun. Sure. But I've never been like, oh, I'll go do that and make it fun. Like I've been very victimized in my circumstance of like, is it going to be fun?
Totally.
Because I didn't think I could create that kind of fun. Because my type of fun is different than a lot of people. Like I grew up, I didn't drink, I didn't do drugs, so like playing Boggle with my mom or like Pictionary with my friends or like, organizing my closet was like a great Friday night for me. And not a lot of people called that fun. So I had a mindset. I grew into the belief that like I wasn't fun.
Right. Awesome. So I'd encourage all of you to write this down. I am a thermostat, not a thermometer. I am a thermostat, not a thermometer. Maybe you've heard that before, but I think today gets to be the day where you really own it. A thermometer is good at telling the temperature of a room. And a thermostat is good at setting the temperature of a room. And I think that that all of us, especially on this call, maybe at some point have had this mindset of like, well, I wonder if that's going to be fun, or I wonder if that's going to be exciting, or I wonder if that's going to be good. Well, you are the primary determining factor in that equation. Period. I'll never forget, I grew up in this small town in Vermont with like 2,000 people, and there was absolutely nothing to do. And so you either got in trouble or you just were really creative. And so one night we're bored out of our minds, and I just put my foot down and I said, no, there must be something that we can do. So we went to this little drugstore, and I bought these like little kid, like in the little kids section of like the kinney drugs, you know, or like the CVS where they have like the kids toys. I bought like all these little kid stuff and a little kid golf set. And we went out into the parking lot, and I just made a game up off the top of my head. And I think that it's a good reminder that our life, the quality of our life is determined by the quality of how we decide it's going to be. So rather than going to a party and hoping it's going to be great, deciding in advance that it's going to be great because we're going. I think that liberates you so much, because then you don't have to be at the whim of circumstance. Then your happiness is not conditional, right? I think that's the big differentiating factor. And so I think that connects to language, because if we can take responsibility for our language and say, hey, the words that I use really matter, and some of the words that I've been using aren't helping me to have a fun party of life. If life is a party and you get to choose how fun that party is, well, then the language you use makes a big difference. It's kind of like, how many of you have ever been to a dance party or a wedding or something, and the music was just like you couldn't dance to it. Like, I don't care how pumped you were, like, the music just like, how many of you have had that experience? Like the music, like you just can't dance. I've been there. It's rough. But the cool thing is, if life is our party, then we get to choose the music. And so part of how we choose that is the language. I do. Of course you do, Chelsea. Of course. I would bet most of us, if we were in a situation where the music was not that great and we were really feeling it, we'd probably still dance in hopes that it was a short song and the good music would come on shortly after. Yeah. So I think this is a metaphor, right? This idea of being a thermostat with your language, and being a thermostat just in life of, it doesn't matter what happens. I get to choose if this is going to be fun, if this is going to be exciting, if this is going to be interesting. So let's just pause on that for a second and really feel. Today's all about feeling. Today's a feeling day. I like that. Let's just feel what it would feel like, what it will feel like. There's a language tweak for you. What it will feel like to feel in control of your life from a context of being a thermostat, not a thermometer. So you don't have to wonder anymore if something's going to be fun. You make it fun. You don't have to wonder if it's going to be interesting or engaging or adventurous or exciting or stimulating or whatever it is that you're desiring. I am the thermostat, and I don't have to wonder. It is what I want it to be because I am it. And just play with that. Like, play with how that feels in your relationships, in your life, in your business. So I want you to type in the chat box. Tell me what you're seeing. Tell me what you're feeling. Powerful. Yeah, totally, Chelsea. What else? How else does that feel to be a thermostat? It takes so much pressure off. Awesome. Feels like a leader. Yeah, Lauren. Awesome. Feels certain, free, powerful. Totally. Thanks, Charlotte. 100%. Are you guys seeing a trend in this language that you guys are using? Free, powerful. I'm seeing those types of words a lot, right? And I think at the end of the day, that's all we want is just, I think that that's who we really, really are. If we're really honest and we just allow ourselves to be who we really are, I think free and powerful pretty much sums it up. But I think our funkiness gets in the way. Bridget, tell me more about it. It takes so much pressure off. Tell me about that.
I was sort of thinking when you're talking about bringing playfulness, or like what Deanna was saying about thinking of something as work, thinking about applying that to my actual work with clients and some of the projects that I'm stepping into this year that have been feeling a little intimidating or scary, because it's like, will I do well and will I do the right thing? And if you're stepping into it from that place that's playful and fun and sort of choosing to make it enjoyable, it gives you, I guess, to the people who are saying certain, or like, it gives a sense of taking that responsibility off it, because we're just going to have fun.
Right.
And whatever happens is going to be the best thing that could happen.
Totally. It's like this. How many of you have ever like been really conscious about how you dance and like tried to look cool while you were doing it, right? And how many of you have just like let loose and just like let your freak flag fly and you just did your thing and you didn't think about it and you didn't try to look cool and you just had fun? How many of you have ever done that before? Raise your hand. Okay. All of you, except for Lauren. She doesn't dance at all. That's cool. I'm just picking. But that's the point. That's the point, is when you don't try, that's when the magic happens. When you don't try, when you don't have pressure, when you don't have obligation, when it's not heavy, that's when magic happens. Just look at how little kids dance. They're just like move around in like all kinds of crazy ways. But that's they're not trying to live up to anything. There's no pressure for them to look cool. They don't even know what looking cool means. So they can just do it. And that's how I encourage all of you guys to live, to be in a way where there is no pressure. There's no pressure, because it's just fun. Like whatever you guys consider fun, if someone just said, hey, I just want you to do that, then that would be easy for you, because you all know how to have fun, and it's not hard to have fun. But sometimes we make fun wrong, or we think that it's hard and we get away from it for so long that we don't know how to have fun anymore. But to just do it is easy. And so it's connected, it's relative, because all of these words that you guys are using, like powerful and free and bright, it's kind of like dancing in a way. If you stop trying and you take the pressure off, then you can just be that, because you just are that. Like people just can dance, whether they're super good at it or not. That's subjective, but they're good at doing it their way. And so you're good at being powerful as long as you're not trying to judge yourself and like figure out who's looking and that kind of thing. If you just get out of your own way and just do it, then very often you just are. Deanna, please.
I'm curious if you have any tools or suggestions on how to get yourself out of, once you're in a mindset, how to get yourself out of it or get out of the funk. Like there are times when, Billy and I will be at a wedding or something and I'll just be in a bad mood. And he's like, come on, let's dance. No, I don't feel like it. Right. And I know that going to the gym when you don't feel like it makes you feel like it. Like doing the thing usually gets you into it. But sometimes, like, even if I'm trying to fake it till I make it, I don't feel it. And I don't feel like I can get there. Like, what do you do to get yourself? I mean, especially, like you're still serving us and leading in a position where if I were in, like, I might not feel like it.
Yeah.
How do you feel like it when you don't feel like
it? How do you feel like it when you don't feel like it? No, it's a great question, though. The answer for me, I don't know if this applies to everyone, but purely for me, is I think about one of the most powerful things that I ever learned was questions, the power of questions. So I just kind of play devil's advocate with myself. And if I hear myself say something like, well, I just don't feel like it, I say, but if I did feel like it, then what would I do? If I did feel like it.
You know, I love questions.
Yeah. If I did feel like, if I was into it, then what would I do? If I was into it. Yeah. Lauren, are you asking that like literally, or are you asking that in conjunction to?
As one of the questions to ask yourself.
Yeah, sure.
You know, when you're doing that, like, do I, like what you said, if I felt like it, is that something that's going to support my values and my goals that I'm working toward? And do I just feel like it because I'm being, or not feel like it because I'm being stubborn?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I know for myself, a lot of the times, probably 50% of the time when I don't feel like it, it's just because I'm being stubborn. I'm just being weird. And I'm like kind of like addicted to not feeling like it just because I don't want to feel like it, which is stupid. And so because I'm at least smart enough to know that, I can go, all right, this is just an act anyway. So why don't I just shake myself out of this and do something different? And yeah, it's kind of like a child in a way when they're just being totally unreasonable, and you just kind of like drop your tone down a little bit, and you're like, come on, man, like you're gonna brush your teeth, like that's what we do every night. So like let's just go. And it's almost that like, let's just level with each other here, okay? Like, listen, I get you're being stubborn. I understand, and I understand where it's coming from. So let's get beyond that. You've made your point, and let's get the teeth brushed and let's go to bed now, okay? It's what's in the sales world, it's called the reasonable man tonality, which is like, hey, we're both reasonable. Like, let's just move on. So for me, I'm good at kind of self-monitoring. So if I hear myself use that stubbornness as a reason not to do something, I kind of like self-parent a little bit. And I'm like, really, dude? Like, are you going to be that guy right now? Like, for real? Or come on, like, because I'm sure you'd rather be out there dancing. So like, let's go. So that's part one of what I do. Part two is I think about, like, it's easy in that moment, especially if you're being stubborn, to not think about the reason why you would want to do it in the first place. So as soon as I think about like, oh, but when I get to the gym and I actually start moving that weight, that feels good. And oh, every time I go to the gym, that's kind of like one more deposit into the bank account of having a better body or having more energy or whatever. And that like gets me into it. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. So I get like, because if I'm in the moment and I'm just being stubborn, then I've got my blinders on and I can't really see beyond like why I would want to do it. And it's easy to talk myself out of it. But if I can get up above it and go, oh yeah, once I get out on that dance floor and I start having fun, then I'll look back on this wedding and I'll be like, oh, that was the time I just like cut a rug and was doing the helicopter out on the dance floor, and it was great. So I give myself permission to like get into the excitement of the thing. So hopefully that's helpful. Cool. Well, guys, we are just at the top of the hour here as I'm looking at the clock. So that is just about that. If any of you guys have anything to share, I'm happy to hear it. Any other questions about what we talked about today? I'd love to hear them. Chelsea's typing. She's thinking. She doesn't know what she's doing. I'm just kidding. Cool. Awesome, guys. Yeah. Great. Well, listen, it's, yeah, thanks, Deanna. It's absolutely been my honor to serve you guys up till this point. And I'm going to announce the winner of the phone tomorrow, I guess. Tomorrow's the last day of the year. What we'll need for that is you, actually nothing. It's so weird with these phones. When I bought it, I had to tell them what carrier I had, like AT&T or whatever. So the phone is specifically linked to AT&T. So what I'm going to have to do is when I announce the winner, I'm going to go back to the store and get like an unlocked one that will work on anything. You guys don't really need to know that, but I figured I'd share it with you anyway. I'm going to pull a name out of a hat. Should I do that live? Should I do something like live where I just pull a name out of a hat for you guys? Would that be fun? Or should I just announce it? You tell me. What do you think? Hat or no hat? Let's see some chat box live. Do what feels fun. Hat. Yeah, let's do it live. Why not? It might just be kind of impromptu at some point. I might say, hey, I'm going to go live in like an hour or whatever, just to give you guys a little heads up, and then we'll just do it. Cool. That sounds fun. Yes, Chelsea, you can say something.
I just wanted to say thank you so much for the call today. Like, I just wanted to acknowledge you because that must have been really, really difficult given everything that's been going on this week. So thank you. That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah. Thanks, Chelsea.
Welcome.
Yeah. Thanks. Awesome. Yeah, it hasn't been easy to show up on these calls recently. And yet I want to illustrate to you guys that you can show up. It's possible to show up. And the difference is, if I was absolutely feeling like miserable, horrible, then I really probably wouldn't. But the truth is, everything with my mom has helped me to understand that there are opportunities in life for us to experience beauty, really, and to give it and to receive it. And so, as not great as I felt recently, I have felt great at the opportunity to be able to give and receive from you guys. And so that it's a big part of how and why I've been able to show up the way that I have. And so it means a lot to me that you guys have been on the other side of this thing to do that with. Cool. So awesome, guys. In full transparency, I'm still working out the details of what this continuing on thing is going to look like. I wish it'd kind of be like the professional thing to like have it all figured out right now and just tell you what it's all about. I have no idea. I have an idea. I would love for it to just be the entirety of next year. And ideally, I would want it to be, I'd love to potentially add some new people to it. Because I'd love for it to grow, because as Deanna said, and this is something that totally was counterintuitive to me, or I didn't expect, was the community, was the connections that people are making. That's really powerful. I didn't necessarily expect that. And so my idea is if we add some new awesome people to it, then that can only be better, especially if we're going to have moments where we get together live, then that is cool too. So I want it to be a year. I want there to be at least like probably 2 in-person components to it, like 2 times during the year where we all get together. We'll probably follow the same format of doing a weekly call. I may even throw in, I'm thinking about like giving you guys the opportunity. I haven't figured out the duration, but maybe at some point getting on the phone with me one-on-one to work on some things. So if that's exciting to you, then that can be part of it. But yeah, I just feel like it gets to continue, and it gets to be there. Those in-person moments allow us to connect even more. And we get to just keep everything rolling. So I'm going to kind of iron out the details and share that. Deanna says, what about also having other people in the group lead the call in their expertise? For those who want to share it. Yeah, totally. I think that is genius, for the simple reason that you guys are so brilliant and you have so much that is beyond anything that I could bring to the table. that it's clear to me just how you're interacting with each other, that to have one of you lead some type of call, or at least like co-lead something with me, would be really beneficial. Do you guys vibe with that? Does that feel true for you guys, or not so much? Let's see some hands if that's true. I'm a visual guy. Yeah. Okay, cool. So cool. Yeah, I like that too, Tammy. That way we can kind of like co-create the thing, and certainly whoever would be kind of co-leading it with me really would be the star, and I would just maybe be able to kind of help them bring out the best in whatever they wanted to bring to the table. Chelsea says, I don't want to lead one, but I'd love to hear everyone else. Yeah, that's fine. And it would be totally optional. Like you could opt in to do it, or you could just kind of, or not. And based on what Deanna's saying, maybe we'll just make Chelsea do it. I don't know. No, of course not. We'll never make anyone do anything except for Chelsea. So anyway, no. Yeah, I just really love you guys, and I just want to see you grow more, and I just want to give you guys more opportunities within this little tribe that we've built to do that. And because I've been so inspired by what you've done, and I'm probably sounding like a broken record at this point, but I just want to share what's on my heart with you guys. And yeah, I personally just get really inspired by the idea of you guys continuing to grow and grow. And just to kind of like put a bow on it and say, well, guys, that was good. I hope everything works out from you, for here. Like, good luck with next year. Like that just, I don't know. Just honestly, it doesn't feel right. So I'm just being real. This is probably not the most like professional way to do it, but again, I don't really care. So there you go. Cool. So we'll announce the winner tomorrow. I'll announce some details about moving forward. And yeah, thanks, Deanna. Yeah, I just want to be real with you guys. And I want I want to be real with you guys to show you that can be enough. Like, you don't have to be super polished and know everything. Like, it can be enough for you to just show up and be real with whatever you do in life, whatever your business is, or whatever context you want to think about it. Like, it's enough to just show up and be you in your onesie. Here you go. That's all you got to do. So thanks, guys. I will, I'll post tomorrow about the kind of race to Halcyon 2.0, and we'll announce a winner tomorrow as well. So I'm excited about that. You're all winners in my book. I think all of you know that. I think all of you know that in my eyes, you've all won significantly. And yeah, there's something very interesting, which is this group started off as a certain number of people, but the people who have continuously shown up on these calls each and every week, there's just something very powerful to be said for you specifically, because you've made the time to be here, and that just means the world to me. So I'm going to shut up now. And let's see. Tammy says, real is what people are really looking for and desiring at a deeper level, I feel. You know what? I feel the same thing. And Marion says, thank you so much for everything. Thanks, Marion. Cool, guys. Well, I'm going to let you go. And I'll look forward to seeing you guys on live tomorrow to announce the winner and the details of everything from here. So have a great evening, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.